Good evening. I'm going to call the October 4th meeting of the school committee to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Moving them down. Thank you.
Thank you. Please join me in a moment of silence for the victims of the shooting in Las Vegas this past week. Thank you. I have no additions or subtractions from the agenda. I don't know if any of my colleagues do. Good. All right,
Great.
so we'll
Thank you.
approve the agenda.
Oh, actually, can I have
Yes.
one thing? I didn't understand why citizen speak and then it had policy BEDH in citizen speak.
That's the policy.
That's the policy that governs citizens.
Okay. It's the citizen speak policy. Yeah. I'm thinking, why is someone talking about policy and citizen speak? Okay, thank you.
We only
Speaking of which, anyone here for citizen speak? All right, superintendent.
Thank you. First, I'd like to invite us to join us at the table, the Tucker Site Council. Our first Site Council presentation to the school committee for the 17-18 school year. Dr. Neil McNeil Jeremiah, I'll ask you to make introductions. And all of the school committee members received your packet last Friday and have studied it. You might have questions. Welcome. Bless you. So both of those mics come out and they can be passed around. One in front of Mr. Daly can be taken out too.
Thank you. And sometimes the mics are more for the people at home than for us.
Is it on now? Okay, thank you for having us. I will just pass the mic around so we can start with introductions. Elaine McNeil-Germay, principal at Tucker School.
Kat DeRoche, assistant principal and curriculum coordinator at Tucker School. Latifa Frank, parent and community representative of Tucker School.
Stacy Solomon, parent at the Tucker School.
Winston Daly, parent at Tucker School.
Ohene Asari, parent at Tucker School.
Joanna Weiss, parent at Tucker School. Meg Matthews, parent at the Tucker School.
Welcome.
Yep.
All right, so for our presentation, shall we go back one slide? We're going to focus, as you know, we don't have our MCAS data as of yet, and it's all embargoed. And I know that's usually a big part of the conversation. So what we chose to present on is the areas of improvement we identified last year, based on that data, where we have made some growth in that from last year to this year, what we see as updates for this year, and then our budget proposal as well. So just first to just give you a sense of Tucker School. So we are growing rapidly. We are approaching 450 students, preschool through grade 5. We really feel like we're a faculty that prides itself in a student body and family group on diversity and really thriving in a small setting. We have a lot of district programs, including the full day and half day preschool, the co-taught in grade 4 and 5. And we've developed many partnerships that you'll hear about tonight that we feel are bringing really great resources into the school. We have in here, just so you can see where we are in terms of the numbers. Just to share again, in terms of us growing, we've actually had 26 new students join Tucker in grades 1 through 5 this year, in addition to, over 60 kindergartners and over 40 preschoolers. So some really big numbers, some really big jumps. I know you'll hear that across the different schools that our enrollment is really growing, but just wanted to share that number as well. So these were our areas last year based on the data. We wanted to focus in on narrowing the achievement gap between our subgroups, between Tucker School and the district schools, as well as continuing to outperform the state. We wanted to focus on our ELA performance, which again was a focus across all of the schools, looking at our ELA curriculum and our assessments. We wanted to particularly look last year at our grade 4. We saw great internal data, but we didn't see the results on the previous year's MCAS, and we wanted to see what was happening there. And again, working on our grade 5 science performance. We had a dip last year, and we were really working towards a rise. As a site council in particular, we were working on looking at academic enrichment opportunities and how to increase that for our students, and maximizing opportunities for social emotional growth. And again, you'll hear about that as we share tonight.
So when we look at the first goal and we look at the high academic achievement for all students and increasing the number of students scoring in the proficient and advanced category, last year our goals were, and things that supported this goal, was the common planning structure that made it possible for teachers to meet in grades K through 5 all together at one time weekly. And that helped us to analyze data, look at specific student needs, put into place structures that were the most inclusive that we could, and to hopefully see and gain student achievement in that area. We also looked to increase opportunities to engage students in the authentic use of technology. So not simply putting students on technology for the sake of technology, but to ensure that it was integrated into our curriculum. Also, looking at our extended day programs, we have a lot going on at Tucker before and after school. We worked on the Saturday Academy for grade 3 through Title I funding, the grade 4 book club during the day, Tucker mentoring for grades 4 and 5, and the summer scholars at MSE. We also continued to work with the Science from Scientists program in grade 5, where students had authentic instruction from real scientists in content-based lessons. And that was probably some of the most engaging lessons I've seen at the elementary level.
Along the lines with science, one of the other things that we did at Tucker's last year and this year is with the science fair, sort of upping the ante with the science fair, making it a little bit more rigorous, connecting with the science specialists that helped out so that students are able to actually answer questions and not just sort of show what they did, but be able to have a dialogue with science experts. So that's also connected to the enrichment for science. Through the override money, there's now a K-2 and a 3-5 math coach, which is there to sort of help improve and sustain quality instructional practices in mathematics, as well as help to make sure that we're really sticking to the curriculum and its full implementation. And then there's also an elementary inclusion specialist through the override money, so helping with instructional practices with students with varieties of needs in an inclusion setting. And then there's the Continental Math League, which is sort of an enrichment program for students in the morning, doing these continental sort of cognitively demanding tasks types of problems. I told the story my first day at the school site council. My daughter is one of the members of this math league. And on a Thursday morning last week, she woke up in the morning and she goes, "Oh, it's Thursday. I wish it was Tuesday." And now she plays soccer on Tuesday. So my thought process was, "You want soccer? Well, you have soccer in 2 days," I said. "You play on, or 3 days, you play on Sunday also." And she's like, "No, it's not math league morning. I want it to be math league morning on Tuesdays." So she loves going to math league in the morning. And they have quite an attendance from what I understand. There's like 60 students joining. That's great. So that's a way for kids to really work together through these cognitive demanding tasks. And then in addition, we have, for some additional leadership, we have an assistant principal, as well as a curriculum coordinator. So that's helpful as well with all these initiatives.
So in addition to all of these wonderful things the override has afforded us at Tucker, is a second elementary instructional technology teacher. So the one technology teacher was spread across all 4 schools. We now have 2. So we share with Glover. And we've really already noticed an impact that has had on our teachers and students. We see our instructional technology teacher for a full week every other week. And rather than just having them in the computer lab and going over, basic computer knowledge, which we know our kids are coming to school with more of that, our technology specialist is integrating her instruction with the curriculum that exists. So she's going in and working with teachers to demonstrate, model, and also reinforce how technology can be used as a leveraging device to enhance the curriculum. Also, we have increased instructional support in our grade 4 co-taught. So instead of that being a 0.5, it's now a full-time. And we also have a 0.5 position and a 1.0 through the override. So those instructional positions are supporting our early elementary learners. And that has made a huge difference as well, knowing that students have many needs in the elementary levels that just include, needing a smaller group, having instruction retaught, curriculum being reinforced. So we've seen that be a huge asset to us as well. So that's for the override.
So I'm sure you're all familiar with the research on how important it is for students to be able to read fluently by the end of 3rd grade and how that predicts academic success further on. That's obviously of paramount importance to us too, so reading is a huge part of our goals for this year. We're pleased that we've been able to add a full-time district reading specialist. That's up from half-time that we had in previous years, so to increase that availability of individual instruction. We had a reduction in some of our Title I funds, but we've done some reassignment of staff in grades 2 through 5 so that we could really maximize the impact of our the instruction in those testing grades. The story walk, that's a really cool thing that we do that we invite the entire community to share in. So we open up once a year in the fall the Tucker Playground area to a trilingual story walk. It's in English, French, and Spanish. And it's a way that people at their own pace and in their own time can participate in a literacy event, and also, of course, a way to bring the community to Tucker and check out our great playground and our great community offerings. And then we also hold literacy nights where we bring authors and storytellers into the school. We've already hosted Marty Kelly, who was the author of a book called A Cape and Albert's Almost Amazing Adventure. He's an amazing artist, and some of his art is now hanging in the school library. And then we'll, later in the year, be inviting Lyda Judge, whose book, her best-known book is probably called Flight School. And she'll be, again, presenting not just her book to the students, but the literacy, the writing process, and really being able, I think, for the students to be able to see a real-life published author and interact with someone who has a personal connection to the books they're reading feels like it brings literacy to life. And then, of course, big thanks to those override funds, I have to mention again, because we're so excited about it, that we have an assistant principal who can help with the curriculum. I will hand the mic.
So still thinking about that literacy goal and ensuring that our students are meeting the benchmark both internally and externally, we've adopted a new Reach for Reading curriculum for ELA in grades K through 5. And this ties back to something I missed on the previous slide, but we were really looking for assessments that gave us a clear picture of what students are able to do and understand independently. And we found through a very extensive research process where we systematically looked at many different programs, national programs, different approaches to the literacy block, and we found that this one really met the needs of our students as well as the needs of the demanding standards that we have in Massachusetts. So we're already underway with that in grades K through 5, and it's been a very strong start to this implementation. As I mentioned before, the 1.5 new instructional support specific to Tucker has already made a huge impact for those students and teachers, and they're able to address the curriculum more strongly because they have more adult support in the classroom. And then finally, the 0.5 reading specialist through Title I. So this is a position that is funded through Title I, previously a full-time position. We did see a reduction in Title I funding, but we're having that person focus on 5th grade based on the data that we have internally about our students that we've gotten to know over the last 4 years. So we're seeing that to be very strong, to have staff target a certain grade level so they can understand not only the students but the curriculum at that grade level to make sure that they're used most effectively.
So,
Hi.
so for our third goal, around community of respect, collaboration, and achievement among all stakeholders, parents, teachers, families, children, to ensure the optimal learning environment for student success. Things that were put in place last school year included the 1647 home visit initiative pilot, which we piloted with our pre-K program that was met with really positive feedback from parents and from the teachers. I had the opportunity to sit and hear about the teachers' experiences and how much it just increased communication, connection, and relationship, and that ease of communication, and how much the kids really enjoyed too, having their teacher come to their house and sit in their living room and get to know them as a person. So that was great. We piloted last school year and launched the Tucker Family Mentoring Program. This was an idea that had been germinating, and a parent had this, went to Elaine and had this idea, and a very short time later, we had the mentoring program, and it was launched, and we had families signing up to be matched with mostly kindergarten families last year to kind of welcome them and orient them and make them feel quickly connected to the school, and we got a lot of positive feedback about that. We continue to have our annual Unity Night, which has been going on for years and years, music and dance that each grade level does together in a performance at the high school here, right here. It's a very big, special night in our community. Last year we saw the Tucker and Glover diversity committees meeting together on a number of occasions in that spirit of collaboration, shared ideas, opportunities for partnership. We had a full school K through 5 implementation last year of the second step social emotional learning curriculum. We had some assistance from our BU social work intern doing some of the legwork and the coaching of teachers and teaching some of those lessons in partnership with all of the classroom teachers. We used some, again, collaboration. We used some PTO money to purchase lanyards for a number of key staff and our lunchtime staff to have around their necks handy, again, to reinforce that common language so that all kind of adults in the building are helping kids to adopt this language around promoting respect and regulating themselves and being in school in a positive way and with each other. I mentioned the intern that we had last year. That was a new partnership with the Boston University School of Social Work. We had kind of reached out to the school and forged a partnership and had a social work intern who was with us for 16 hours a week, one student for the school year. That program has grown, and this school year we welcomed 2 Boston University first-year social work interns who work with our school adjustment counselor and with the team as a whole. I worked some with that student last year, that intern who just wanted to stay for her second year because she just loved and felt so much a part of the Tucker community and was treated, as a member of the community, not just a student learner. So that was great. Last year we also saw the first year of the Girl Scouts Daisy Troop in our first grade. There were 2 parents of first graders who also had older daughters who were in the Girl Scouts program, and they were troop leaders and wanted to bring it to Tucker, and were very intentional about working with Elaine about outreach to make sure that it was an activity that would be open and accessible to a range of students, and they hosted it at school so that students who maybe transportation was an issue but attended after school could be able to participate in that program. And it was again, met with a lot of great success, and will continue into this school year as those girls move into second grade. My daughter was in that program and very proudly put on her badges every month and wore her little blue, I don't even know what you call it, smock or something. So she's very excited to bridge to brownies this one. But it's been great. We continued, as we have in past years, the Artist in Residence program at the Tucker School last year. That's kind of Elaine's baby, and PTO funding helped support that. Again, we had some really great people come in, and the nice thing about the Artist in Residence is it engages the children and the families. So we have like the school day content that all the kids in their classrooms are exposed to, and then we do something at the school at night where we invite families and they get to see and hear about what had been happening in the school that day. So all good stuff. Something new last year to kind of, again, support collaboration and achievement was the Activities Fair, which was a team effort, and some discussion and efforts happened at the site council. It was very much Kat DeRoche's baby, and a lot of time-intensive work went into pulling that well-attended event off. So that was great, and helping kids and families across the school get connected to activities they might not know about, or there might be some barriers, or there's this kind of like, how do you even find out about this stuff? So really trying to reduce those barriers to connection to activities. This year, you may have heard we have a .5 assistant principal. As the self-appointed president of the Kat DeRoche fan club, I was very excited that happened. So that's been great. We continue to have a focus on social emotional learning, as all the elementary schools do. The district is participating in the Excel network partnership, and we'll get some technical assistance and kind of help the school think about how to, have high academic standards and content, as well as attending to the whole child and the social emotional needs. I mentioned we have 2 interns from the School of Social Work who will be continuing to do really great work to support our students. We have a grant-funded bullying unit through Second Step that we'll be able to introduce and implement this school year. And then just lastly, we are continuing, because it was so successful, the Tucker Family Mentoring Program into this year and beyond. One of the new aspects of that program this year was kind of we heard from families that they'd really like to see at the beginning of the year a gathering to kind of face-to-face meet and greet rather than a lot of kind of email or ad hoc connections. And so we had a very successful, well-attended scavenger hunt around the Tucker School. So well-attended that we ran out of little prizes because we never thought we would have that many people show up. So everyone got a Tucker School magnet and then a little balloon. Or some consolation prize because we ran out of balloons. Just the final thing I'll share is that in this, again, the spirit of collaboration, at the end of last year, we instituted, for lack of a better term, a joint subcommittee of our PTO, Site Council, and diversity committees, and having representatives of each of those groups meet on a somewhat regular basis, just so the left hand knows what the right is doing, and in the spirit of community and making sure we're all working together and not duplicating efforts, and everyone knows kind of what's going on. And, yeah.
I'm going to talk about discovering justice just for a moment. So one of the things we're implementing district-wide is a K-5 enrichment curricula that aligns with the social studies standards in Massachusetts. And this curricula is not a standalone program, but is an enrichment opportunity that enhances what we're already doing and was generously funded by the MFE, so thanks to the MFE. But what it does is it uses trade books, so books that you might have read before. It looks at them through a lens of children accessing social justice. So in grade appropriate ways, it introduces very big and complicated ideas through familiar children's books. And it's wildly successful, and we're also starting that implementation along with the REACH program. So a lot of literacy embedded content that we're teaching this year.
So in continuing to develop our community of respect, collaboration, and achievement, we are continuing the 1647 partnership as well as the mentoring program. And so an anecdotal message for me is that my daughter was a kindergartner last year, and so I'm brand new to the Tucker School, and Meg was my mentee and initiated me into the Tucker School, and now look at me, I'm
you
here,
are.
she's here, yeah, on television. But it is really nice in being this year. I am a mentor family to several preschool mentees and kindergartners, and I have some preschoolers coming up. And talking about the 1647 partnership, it was a delight. I have a very shy and reserved little boy, and to have his teacher come to our home and sit down, and his twin sister offering her tea and lots of other things, but to have that happen, and now he's blossomed already, and it's just the beginning of October. And so it's just a really, really, really good way to welcome families into the community. And so kudos to that. I'm very appreciative of it. The other thing that we are doing is enhancing the focus on family engagement in a few ways. So one, the ELL teacher, through a partnership with an HGSE, Harvard intern, is doing, there's a new app. And so they're able to invite families in their home language to our Tucker School events. And we have gotten a lot of, and Elaine talked about it a little bit at our first meeting, many more families than we have had in the past come out to our school events. And so it's a plus, it's working, so we'll keep doing it. And then also, we know that social emotional learning is important, and students engaging in their school school community is important to educational success. And so we have started a running club, we have basketball clinics, musical theater programs, and really enhancing our school programming for students, kindergarten through 5th grade, and it's been amazing to see. So I'm one of those early parent drop-offs, and to see the line of children for a math club on Tuesday, and I'm like, why are you all here? And they're like, math club, it's math club. So all of those things are really getting our students engaged in our school community, and we know there's a lot of research that shows that they're engaged in the school community, they're gonna do well in school, and so that's exciting. And then lastly, something new is the Tucker Cares Community Service Initiative that after our meeting, I went home and told my daughter about, and she's like, oh, that's gonna be great. She learned about the Milton Food Pantry last year in kindergarten, and they took some vegetables over from our garden, and since then, we have visited quite a lot in donating and making sure that they have everything. And so we're really, really excited to get involved with the community service project, and it's just a great way to get the kids, really supporting our community.
Thank you. So the moment we've all been waiting for. Yes. First and foremost, let me just say many of these programs, maybe because I have so many children, are just a blessing to my family. I can look down and all of us, and I think what you'll see in this group is that we are genuinely excited about this school. We are not here to curry your favor. I mean, we would not come out on the 7 p.m. on Tuesday or Wednesday night or whatever night it is or anything else. And so, so as we think about this, we're gonna do it in 2 areas. I'm going to talk about the curriculum and the materials, and then Winston will talk about personnel and the extended day. And so we also want to add that we do appreciate this. You do not have to be generous with your funds, the MFE, the superintendent's office. We certainly do appreciate the support, and I hope you see that we're putting it to good use, and we'll continue to do so. So I'm a little bit long-winded, my wife says. So, curriculum, the K-1 FOSS kits. Now that is a perfect line of something that looks like it means nothing, but it's amazing. If you do not know what FOSS is, it is literally an award-winning scientific literacy program. It uses the most current research, and it helps teachers. It gives teachers an awesome learning plan, right? So it believes that if teachers can have great materials, they can teach anyone science. Science City put something cool together, and it is amazing. This has won awards, and so we are investing in it in our early students. We all know about the science gap in the U.S., and there are so many studies that show that the earlier students get exposed to something, right? It becomes part of what they do. And so this is an amazing program. It's something that we are asking for funding for in terms of curriculum, K1 and 1. Secondly, you heard a little bit about REACH and the online assessments that we're asking for that tie into our first and our second goals. This is critical, the Reach for Reading. You see the progress we're making. It's all about being able to properly assess our students, where they're going, and the progress that we're making, right? We want to be able to show the data so that we're having the impact and that we're engaging with our students. And so that is a key piece of our ask too. The third piece are some materials. Now, this one, when I looked at it, I said, what is this? These generic lines, right? And as we were talking about these. So every night, my sons come home and they do their homework. And then I see them like banging away the computer, right, for a while. And then I start to yell at them and say, stop playing the computer. I say, no, Dad, we're doing homework. Look at these apps, Study Island and Learn, right? It's all about the apps. It's all about subscriptions. It's all about giving every student a chance to engage from their home site, because the learning just continues, right? I got a little note on with the baby search brought a little note home saying, son needs no more help on this. And you can go right into the app and do this work. And that makes such a difference. It's extending the school day in a different way. And these subscriptions are not, terribly large or expensive, but they do make an impact. And so we continue to ask for your support for these items.
Thank you. So a lot of our personnel asks will go back to things we discussed earlier. The 1.5 Title I funded positions, currently we have a full-time math specialist and a half-time reading specialist. We understand that over time, with the census coming in the 4 years back, that it's possible we may lose these positions. These positions are very important for our students, and we've shown great strides with them, and we'd like to keep those in our schools. Also, the preschool coordinator. Currently in the district, we have different preschool programs at different schools and not all on one campus, and we would just think we need someone who's there to sort of get all the boats rowing in one direction. A coordinator so everyone knows what we're doing at each school. We have 2 programs ourselves. There's one here, and I think there's one at Collicott. So we would like those programs to be speaking to each other in some way. And next, our 2 for our social emotional work, learning and social work. What Meg did not mention was that last year she was our supervisor and she did that for free. This year we have 2 interns and a full-time supervisor. We're paying at a supervisor rate. We understand the need for educating the whole student, not just them academically, but also emotionally. Children have needs. If we can't feed them emotionally, it's hard to get them to learn anything when they come into school. So we would like to keep that social emotional coordinator and also our practicum supervisors moving forward. So we ask for your help with that. Also, we know going into kindergarten, the first year a child moves into school is very important. It sets them off on their academic career. And we want to get our children moving forward on the right foot. So we asked for a kindergarten increase from 80% to a full-time. On our extended day, Kat and I worked on this extensively last year. I understand you all spoke about it here a few times, not just academics, but also athletics. We took the time and we said, where can we find room for enrichment? So we looked into before school and after school, merging with the ASE program that's already there and some of our programs such as the Math League, which you've heard a lot about, in Box. Kat and I were able to go around to many of the schools in town and look at their ASE programs, see what they were offering, what's worked for them, what plans do they have, what's the difference between what they do and what we do, and what's worked for us in the past, and what can we work on. So currently, we also were able to meet with the athletics in town. We've met with most of the coaches and presidents of all the athletic leagues, spoke to them about getting all of our students out. They're definitely not out in the numbers that we would like. We think we have a plan to move forward, but it is going to take a little bit of money. We applied for some grants.
Doesn't everything?
One for $10,000, which unfortunately did not get funded. But we are still moving forward, hopefully with our basketball league and a few other clinics that will be happening this year. So those are our asks. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just in closing, so this is our school theme for the year, Dream, Plan, Achieve. This is what we've been sharing with students and families. And, it's very much how we feel as a site council. We've had a lot of big dreams, and we've been making a lot of plans, and we really feel we're going to see our dividends over the next few years. We're very hopeful that our MCAS data will show all of the hard work from last year. And so this is actually a quote we shared at the beginning of the year at Open House that I'm sure you're all familiar with about not doubting the impact of a small group of committed citizens. Obviously, all of you sitting up there, and as you can see, this group, as they shared, are very invested, very involved in lots of different ways, not just on site council, but as you heard, they're the practicum supervisors. Winston is the basketball clinic. So we are, they're putting their thoughts into action as well. And so our newest program that Joanna is going to share a little bit about, we're really excited about. It's hopefully going to be running in the Milton Times tomorrow. But again, we just always want to make sure that Tucker is represented well in the community. We want to, being the small school, we really want to get our name and our students out in the community, and we have a great way to do that this year.
Yeah, this was mentioned before briefly, but and we've been here before, I think, talking about the Tucker Way, and that's our way of thinking about our spirit and our values and the ideas about inclusion, respect, being part of the community, and we're always thinking of ways to spread that spirit throughout Milton. And so our wonderful PTO came up with an idea this year they're calling Tucker Cares, and it's a way to allow students every month to take part in a public service project that involves an organization across town. And it's a really amazing wide range of organizations they're working with. They've already lined up a project with the animal shelter, with the food pantry, with the Council on Aging to work with veterans, and then again with seniors, with Milton Hospital, with the parks, with the police and fire department. So it's giving our students an access to a range of institutions, but also a range of opportunities to show, to really have like hands-on experience, whether it's putting together, packages for the food pantry, or making cards for residents of the hospitals and the, the Council on Aging, or putting together. I think they're working on a project to do like an outdoor cleanup day at the animal shelter. So again, it's exposure of the community to Tucker, and then exposure from allowing the Tucker kids to have exposure to the full community and share that spirit. And we're excited to be featured in the Milton Times because we want to spread the word about all the exciting things that happen in Tucker and the way Tucker integrates so beautifully with the Milton community.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Craig, okay. Sure.
All right, you're up. I'd like to thank you all, first of all, for having such great representation from your school. This is impressive. And what really jumps out at me is exactly the spirit and sense of community that Joanna was articulating, and some of the rest of you were as well. And not just fostering a sense of community within Tucker, although that's amazing as well. I mean, really fostering that sense that families are really part of the school, and that integrating that idea, but also the outreach that you're making to the larger community, and not just with the Tucker Cares Community Service Initiative, although that's as part of it, but the Tucker and Glover Diversity Committee, and other things here on your list as well. That's quite impressive. And I think that kind of passion and drive and commitment and collaboration is going to get you where you want to go with your goals. I do have a couple of questions, some of which you answered in your presentation because I had questions beforehand. But one question was, your goal number one was to work to increase the number of students scoring in the proficient and advanced category. Did you have some sort of benchmark or goal? Is there a percentage increase that you're looking for there? Or?
So we had set as the percentage 70%.
Okay.
Working towards that on the external assessments, and then we had worked with the teachers and set a goal of having students be at 90% on our internal data and working towards 70% on external data.
Okay, great. I think I'll hand it over to my colleagues here to ask their questions, not take up more time. But thank you very much. That was really great.
I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
This was an excellent presentation, and I love your energy and enthusiasm, and Tucker's lucky to have all of your energy and enthusiasm and expertise. I was just wondering if you could describe the role of the assistant principal a little bit more. And I'll tell you that I work at an elementary school. We wish we had an assistant principal every day. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how your role is defined and whether Tucker is allowed to sort of do something different than, let's say, a Glover assistant principal or Cunningham assistant principal.
So I'll share, and then Kat might say what I missed. So, it's a shared role with the curriculum coordinator position. So we're, really working collaboratively on all of the academic work in terms of common planning and things like that with the teachers. The one area that we've really kind of tried to focus the time and energy into is our unstructured time as well, though, because we really feel like, as you've probably heard, the lunch and recess blocks definitely take away sometimes from class time, and the students are coming back and they've had a little problem and they're upset about it. So just trying to streamline that time a little bit better, and again, trying to bring some of that enrichment in. So we're really trying to think of what we can offer during recess, and we've been brainstorming lots of things. We're gonna do, a 4th grade chorus. That's where we do our 4th grade book club, and then we do, a Saturday when they can come and watch a movie that goes with it. So just trying to think of how we can use that time not only to structure it and support the lunch and recess team, but also to enhance our academics.
I'd say that does, sum it up. It's I think, as you know, if you're in a school, it's a hard thing to define, as is a teacher or a principal. I think it's whatever the day demands. I think that is how I would sum up the position, but that's true of a lot of things. To your question about consistency across the schools, I do think there's a level of expectation, and I think the superintendents could answer that as well, about what the job is. I think, again, it depends on the needs of the school, because there are varying needs across. But I do think it's in collaboration with the curriculum is just ensuring, and sort of the way I perceive this role, and I don't know if my colleagues would articulate it this way, but I've always thought of this as it's my job to ensure that the teachers can do their teaching and removing whatever is getting in the way. So if that's a student that's having a bad day, if it's a parent phone call, if it's they need, notebooks, they need me to, do something, I do that. So that's sort of how I see it, or building a relationship with the family, or connecting them to people I know. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
I just wanted to add one thing too that's been really great, and I know it popped up in here, but also I think what we've been trying to do is, again, kind of norm those systems. We have so many awesome new positions, the new technology, the elementary inclusion. So really trying to norm, again, when we hear those teacher needs, how we're allocating all the great resources and personnel that we have.
Memorella.
Do you want to go first?
No,
I'm just reading. Okay, so again, I also want to just commend you. Like, what a passionate group. I mean, I've been 3rd year or so here, and sat through a lot of site council presentations. But you guys are really. I kept thinking in my mind, like, what a passionate group, and seems to really be so dedicated to the school. And I say this to Superintendent Gormley all the time, that schools take, you have to have great superintendent, great principals, and great teachers, but you have to have great parents, and and to support your principals, and it really makes or breaks it. Like Math League, I remember, and what I'm just going to tell you a little side thing. Back in the day, I have a freshman and a senior up here at the high school. The big and one is a type 1 diabetic, and one is severely allergic to different food allergies. So back in the day, we used to coax them with what?
Donuts.
Yeah. And everyone kept saying, look at them saying, wow, they can't.
Those
even
are the days,
that.
right?
And when certain kids couldn't eat it, and then bravo to Jackie Morgan, who just said, like, no more donuts at Math League in the morning. But they kept saying, well, no one will come, no one will get up early and go to do continental math if they don't have the donut at the end of the session. So it was really great to hear your daughter, and you guys couldn't even fathom having donuts at Math League, that she wants to get up and go to Math League, and they were like, no chocolate donut, don't think it's going to happen. So I think that's great. With all the things you're doing, I had just a couple of questions on. I guess let me just say the budget request one.
here.
Oh, no, before the budget request, I also want to say that, again, after such a grueling year last year, I just think it's great in your presentation that, you know, you're noting out how much additional support the override is bringing to your school, and it seems to be something that I can tell already that you notice the difference and getting you off to even like a better, you know, start to the year with that additional support. So that's really good, and I hope the people at home realize like the energy and the spirit that it's bringing, the additional support, which is really great. And then the other thing was on the budget request. Yeah, I'm going to do these ones, and you can ask this, okay?
You just ask them all.
All right, okay. So, under curriculum, I wanted to ask on your query on the for REACH, when it says REACH online assessment, is that part of the REACH for reading, and why is that not part of what you already have now? So, can you speak to that?
Yep, sure. So the what we have now is the complete program curriculum approach materials,
right,
everything.
Right.
You know, good business. They're in it for
of
money.
Course. Yeah.
And great education. But the online assessments come separately. And if I can speak to the recommendation that our consultants made, was that it's overwhelming. In the program, the tool itself is very overwhelming. It has so many components, which makes it a very rich literacy experience. The recommendation was that the online piece would be overwhelming to teachers and students, and so we heeded that recommendation because that was sort of something we were like, oh, this is a lot to throw at people, but we knew that it was for the best for the kids, so we did it. So the online assessments we did not sort of go forward with, and as we've been sitting with teachers in meetings about the assessments, they're very informative assessments, but they take a long time to process. So it's like 90 questions or whatever it is. They're very short, but to then analyze the data and input all of that into something would take a lot of time and very time intensive. So it's a separate purchase.
So you're saying, you mean, like, you do have the assessments in the print format right now?
That's correct.
So if you could have it online, you know, kind of like being able to have
it's sort of like
and MCATs, you get your data that much quicker. Yeah. Okay, so that's good. And so my other question that I also, just as follow-up to that is that I know that you spoke about having the second technology teacher, and that it's a week at a time, and that they're, as opposed to just you get, you know, I remember with my guys, you'd have like technology once a week in the computer lab and blah, blah, blah. So I ask this a lot, you know, and I work in educational publishing, and Claire writes for everything, we offer everything online, but like how much of the curriculum is also being accessed by the student online? Like, so it's interesting that the assessments are not, like when you say that, but for the other part, and I know Reach for Reading is brand spanking new for you all this year, but are you working towards, I mean, even what we use for, if we still use everyday math, for math, like, but are you using the, with having the additional technology, and I know last year when you all came to visit us, technology and the computer access, is your goal to try to work so the students do take, you know, the other curriculum and access it, you know, electronically more so than it has been? Can you speak to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Reach for Reading, every student has a login and a password, so they can access it at home and in the classroom. What's being used currently every day by, you know, all the teachers is you log in and there are e-presentations similar to Everyday Math, and so there's the book that's projected on the smart boards, and the students come up and they might underline, you know, the multisyllabic word that they're working on or whatever it might be. So they have the text both projected and in front of them, so for a variety of learners it really helps. It also reads the text aloud to them, so there's an audio option, which is great for students that might need some help accessing grade level material. There's also activities online, so for the younger kids, like high frequency words, phonics, they can break it down. It's like electronic flashcards.
Yeah, exactly.
So our technology teacher, Kirsten Driscoll, she's been going into classrooms, all K through 5, and helping teachers and modeling how they might use that as an instructional practice. So a lot of our teachers are comfortable with technology, but like you say, it's brand new, so everybody's kind of like, ooh. But they're doing it, and it's happening. So she's going in and saying, if you only have, you know, a handful of Chromebooks, here's what you could do at a center. Or here's how you might rotate this technology through. So you're absolutely right. The goal is to integrate what we do have for techtechnology into the everyday learning.
In your programs, right, which is great. Okay, that's good. And then, I'll do personnel. And I just wanted to ask about extended day. With the stuff that you have recommended there, do you mean for that to be part of community schools, like, or separate programs beyond what's available in community schools?
So we're thinking beyond community schools. So we don't want to repeat anything.
Okay.
But, you know, so one of the things that was listed that we're doing this year is we're doing a pilot for music lessons. So we're doing group lessons, a different format. We worked with Don Sykes, Rebecca Damiani, and we tried to, again, think about all the things that may be preventing students from participating. Because as you know, I know it's a school committee goal to enhance the diversity of students participating at the high school levels. So we said, well, maybe it's transportation. So maybe we can offer lessons here at Tucker. Maybe it's having an instrument. So we were able to get, you know, a lower cost rental and lessons by doing a group. So we just started, I think we're in week 3, offering this group lesson format as a pilot, and it may be something that then goes to all the elementary schools, but we have 6 students doing clarinet with Gary Good. And 4 violinists. We're hoping to get that up to 6, working with Deborah Miller. So just things like that that would be maybe beyond what community schools can do on a smaller, you know, version.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So just to clarify, you're working in parallel with community schools. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not an add-on to community
exactly.
schools. Okay.
And that was where it started last year, but kind of observing and speaking with Pam Dorsey and Deb Hayes, who runs our Tucker one, and figuring out what we could do to enhance and bring in more.
Perfect.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. Member Everett.
I just had a really quick question about, so I think I'm understanding correctly, but you're talking about the preschool coordinator being district-wide, correct? And the social emotional learning coordinator, which we had the grant-funded position, continuing district-wide. But the stipend for the social work intern is specific to Tucker with the BU students. Is that?
Right. For the practicum supervisor,
right.
but yes,
So.
specific for Tucker.
Okay. And just so for my own clarification, the instructional aides in kindergarten are 0.8 across the district.
It might have,
Please.
the stipend for the intern, the supervisor of the intern, Tucker wrote and was awarded a $2,000 grant from BI Milton, and the remaining $1,000 came from the Title I grant. And Rebecca Damiani wrote a successful grant that will enable Tucker to pay the music for the music lessons. And we had the instruments as a result of the Copeland Foundation donation, and there's one more clarinet on its way. And then we're looking to expand the program, one more group, so that might be 18 to 20 children who will start at 4th and 5th grade these music lessons.
That's great.
Excellent.
That's really
Oh, can I ask one more thing?
Please.
I wanted to say, after, I don't know, you know, Elaine, if you can, as the principal, but I think the comment you made about the site and the PTO and the diversity, you know, having touch-based meetings, you know, as someone who's heavily involved in all of those, you know, through my journey before I'm here, which, by the way, all of you would be
we're looking at
great
you people
future school
thinking
committee members.
future.
So plant that in your little brains for on down the line. But I just think that I admit that when you're there, you know, when you're on site, you don't know what PTO is doing, you know, and there, you know, there's ways that you can support each other and then not overlap each other or not step on each other's toes. So I think that's a great idea, and I think, you know, if it continues, if you find it to be successful, you know, maybe share that with like Glover and Cunningham and Colligot too, because I think that's, you know, it's you know, again, the more stronger small groups you have that can come together and work collaboratively, more can get done for your school. So you're the first people I've ever heard to do that, and I think it's really great. So
It is great.
Yeah.
Member Rosemary.
Well, just want to thank you all for your wonderful presentation. Tucker School is near and dear to my heart. That's where my family got our start in Milton, in the Milton Public Schools. And in fact, Glenn Pavlicek and I were on the Tucker School PTO together back in the day.
See? Look at them now.
See?
Were you the founders? Were you the founders?
It's only a matter of time.
But just saying. And then just a couple of things. In terms of your budget request for preschool coordinator, I just want to echo that and support that. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's a wonderful district initiative, and to have that communication across really 3 schools. There's a program at the high school as well as Collicott and Tucker. That is just a wonderful opportunity to strengthen that and build that consistency. And also in terms of bringing kindergarten aides to full-time. I think that's a district-wide need, and it would be a wonderful thing. One quick question, something you mentioned about your assessments that it sounds like was an issue last year where your internal assessments were coming out different than what you were seeing with MCAS. And I'm just wondering, with the new Reach for Reading curriculum, whether you feel like that might make a difference.
So what we found, as you're saying, students were doing really well. They were reading at an instructional level that was grade appropriate, which is great. And I think that was accurate for what we were testing for. So we were assessing what students could do, sitting with a teacher, one-on-one, being listened to intently while they read aloud, and then were prompted for comprehension questions. And that assessed what they could do instructionally with a reading level. And so we got what we asked for. We got their instructional level. What we would do, because that was the information we had, and we've been looking for something, what we needed to know, because comparatively the MCAS and PARCC, as you all know, is taken independently in a large group over a long period of time. Online.
Yeah.
And so what we found was we got what we asked for there too, so it was just a completely different animal. And so we were looking for something that required students to demonstrate what they were known able to do independently. And from what I can tell, and I'm not an expert in Reach for Reading as of yet, I don't even know that I ever could be, but from what I've seen and the assessment administered, I've analyzed some of the data with teachers, and it is giving us a better lens of what we know certain students. So like in 4th grade, we've had those kids for a while. We know what students are able to do independently. So we are seeing that reflected in the assessment. Whether or not it's perfect, exactly predictive, I can't say, and I can feel Vivu, the data specialist, being like, don't say it, and it's not. But I can say that it's more accurate. We're definitely getting a better picture of what students can do independently.
That's great. Thank you.
Good. Well, thank you for coming. Last year, we found the process of having all of the site councils come in and present ahead of budget season was tremendously helpful for all of us. So thank you for being the inaugural group here.
Great. Yeah.
You set the bar high, and once again, and this has been very, very helpful. Mr. Rose, congratulations on your promotion.
Very much. Thank you to all of you for your hard work.
Yeah, you the assistant principal.
We weren't sure.
Sure.
We didn't know.
And as Daniel Webster said about a different small school, it's a small school, but there are those of us who love it.
Yeah.
And that really sums up sort of the Tucker ethos. So it's great to have all this enthusiasm and excitement. 2 specific questions. One is probably better directed at Superintendent Pavlicek. Are we expecting another? I know last year we hit a threshold, a census threshold, which triggered a loss of Title I funds. Are we expecting more of that this year, or simply the vagaries of federal funding with regards to federal?
I would say it's more the latter.
Okay.
There was a built-in threshold
Yeah.
that we were above 1 year and dropped below. There's not another looming threshold, but there are other looming adventures on the horizon with federal funding on such things. So it's hard to predict where we'll end up.
And then my second specific question was about the FOSS kits. So for my own edification, are we requesting those because they're consumable? We've had them in the past, and now we're looking to replenish them, We have similar kits in other grades and found them useful, and now we're looking to expand to grade K and 1, or we're starting to pilot this and see where to go from there.
Sure. So it is that we do not have them in K and 1. So we have had them in 2nd through 5th grade and have found them to be incredibly helpful, again, not only for the students, but they also have a great deal of content knowledge for the teachers. As you know, elementary teachers are teaching all the different subject areas, so it has some really great resources in there. And so in K and 1, we have not had those kits, so we are obviously teaching the standards, but we would love to have the structure of the program.
Excellent. And if I might, your advancement budget enabled us to purchase the FOSS kits over the past years, 2 through 5. Even if funds had allowed, the FOSS kits would have been too much to introduce into those grades with the dual literacy program this year.
Good. Excellent. Well, thank you
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Bada bing, bada boom. Great minds think alike.
Which is great.
Yeah, it is. Your online, it's the online assessment too. Way to paint that over. Hey, telling you.
Now, may we ask our high school team
to put like over
to join us at the table?
Seeing it there in red so many times, it makes me think, you know.
Right. Principal James Jett,
People need to know.
Guidance Director Karen Cahill, and Data Specialist Vivu. You heard from the Tucker presentation that our MCAS data is embargoed until the end of October. During the summer, we've been receiving our advanced placement and SAT data, and every year we make a presentation to the school committee and the community. So I appreciate the 3 of you coming out tonight for this presentation. Welcome.
I have to say, first of all, I'm battling a cold right now, so please excuse me, and if something is not clear, please feel free to jump in and ask questions.
And so, Vivu, before you begin, I thought you were going to share that your child went to the preschool and is now a happy kindergartner at the Tucker.
That too, I was very happy to hear the Tucker presentation tonight.
Yeah.
James and Karen are also here to support me to answer any questions that you may have about the AP and SAT preparation program here at the high school. And I have to say that, in putting together this AP presentation, I was very happy and very proud to be a member of the Milton district, because our results this year were phenomenal. They were really beyond expectation, and as I go through, you'll see how that the results are playing out this year. So let's see. All right. You've seen, these are kind of the summary of our AP highlights this year. So at the Milton High School, we offer a total of 21 AP courses this past year. And of these 21 classes, 18 courses have a qualifying rate of 75% or above. So that means that 75% of students in each of these classes score a qualifying score of 3, 4, 5, which allow them potentially to receive college credit for related courses. 13 of 21 courses saw an improvement in the qualifying rate, and we have 129 AP scholars this past year. That is 44% of all students who took AP last year, which is an incredible rate. And then lastly, in 2017, 85% of all exams received a qualifying scores of 3, 4, 5. And I'll show you the slide that show the progression from when we first began the AP open enrollment program 10 years ago, and you will be astounded by the qualifying rate that we achieved this past year. So this is really when we're talking about, and when I try to analyze the data, I really try to look at it from the lens of equity. So in terms of access to the offerings as well as performance on the offerings. So we try to narrow the achievement gap and make sure that all our subgroups have access to these opportunities. So this is looking at overall participation. So about 60% of our juniors and seniors take AP classes, and that is due to open enrollment. So if you look at the chart on the left, you see that the percentage has stayed about 60 for the past 3 years. So that's pretty stable. And then the right chart tells you the number of exams that were taken. So even though the percentage of students taking AP classes are the same, they're taking more AP courses. And not only are they taking more AP classes, but they're also achieving at a higher rate. So this is the slide I was referring to earlier. So if you look at the first bar in 2009-10, our overall qualifying rate for AP was 47%. So 47% of the exams taken receive a qualifying scores. This past year in 2017, the last bar, our qualifying rate was at 85%. This is the highest rate that we've ever had. So it was a really great year for AP. So now to peel back some of the layers, we look at the subgroup data. And this is the percent participation of AP students by race. And if you see the breakdown, the red bar are the proportion of students by different racial subgroups in our student population in our juniors and seniors class. And then the blue bar, you see the comparison of the same subgroups who are taking AP courses. So across the board, I think for most of the subgroups, you see that you have the blue bar is higher than the red bar. That means more students from that subgroups are having access to the AP, with the exception of the African American Black group, which is lagging their share of the population by about 12%. And I was asked to go back and look at this trend to see whether it's been the same pattern over the past several years, and it seems like that's been the pattern. So our general population of African American students has been around 26–24%, and over the past couple of years, the percent that participate in AP offerings is about 10–12%. So that's been consistent.
And if I might be later in the presentation identifying that issue, that's why the school district is involved in the calculus project, and Principal Jett will share some of that data and how this takes years in building up, and what we're seeing in the participation of the calculus project. We'll address that at the end.
But when we look at the performance of subgroup, I think this is also a really great news story. So you see that the achievement gap is really closing for the two subgroups that have been underperforming, so the African American Black subgroup and the Hispanic Latino subgroup. So in 2016, the qualifying rate for African American Black was 47%. And this past year, it rose up to 72%. So it's catching up with their peers. And the same for Hispanic and Latino subgroup. Their qualifying rate last year was 57%. And in 2016, rather, and in 2017, it's at 88%. Something's happening with those subgroups in particular that's allowing them to catch up with their peers. And now this is participation by income status. So students who are low income, so you see them at 15% participation in AP classes, and their representation in the population is 23%. So you are not seeing as many low income students represented in the AP courses. And this is the same trend for last year as well. But looking at their performance, it's encouraging because, again, you see that the qualifying rate for low-income students is rising from 57% in 2015 to 63% in 16, and then now in 2017 it's at 73%. And then lastly, participation and performance by gender. You see the bar graph on the left side of the screen is telling you that girls, female students are accessing the AP offerings slightly more than boys. So in AP courses, they're 59%, while they're only 51% of the population. So more girls are accessing the AP courses. However, if you look at the chart on the right, which tells you about performance, the boys are performing slightly better than the girls in terms of overall qualifying rate. So the boys are scoring at 90% versus the girls, their qualifying scores is at 81%. So that's kind of an interesting trend. And if you look at the year before, it kind of had the same trend. And I would say that statewide, if you look at it, it's the same too. So
really,
yeah. And if you, could be. So let's look at that. So this is just the overall categories of the different types of tests that are offered here at the high school. And you see that arts and languages like just tops the board, and they repeat this pattern every year, year after year. So we have a really great fine arts department here, really great world languages department here. And then the other departments are over 80% this past year as well. So phenomenal scores. And then lastly, just looking at the number of AP scholars, and AP scholars are recognized for their particular academic distinction, and the AP board, the College Board has, a list of criteria for how you get to be determine what kind of AP scholars you are. But the red line is just the total number of AP scholars that we've been tracking over the past 5 years, and you see that that line keeps rising. So that really speaks to the rigor of instruction and learning here at the high school for all the AP offerings. So this is just the criteria for AP distinction. All right. Do we want to take questions on AP before we move to SAT? Or I can move on to SAT and then we'll do the questions together?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right. So, class of 2017 SAT. So what I wanted to say about the SAT is that the College Board has really developed a new suite of what they call a new suite of SAT assessments over the past several years. So since 2015, they were in the process of developing and implementing new PSAT tests along with new SAT tests that are supposedly more aligned to college and career-ready benchmarks. So what they've been finding nationally is that students who are going into college are having to take a lot of remedial classes during their first semester. And so to combat that trend, they did research about what's actually happening at the college level in that first year college level classes, and then backtrack to create benchmarks for, okay, if that's the level of success that we expect in college, then where should they be in high school so that they are ready for that level of rigor in college. And so the benchmark score really represent a 75% likelihood of a student achieving at least a C in a first year college course in a related subject. And the overall college and career readiness benchmark is defined by achieving both the evidence-based reading and writing and math. So the SAT are now boiled down to two sections really. Evidence-based reading and writing, and then math, and Karen Cahill can give you more details on that later. So the class of 2017 is the first class that took all these redesign testing. And the College Board really warned us not to compare these new tests to the old tests because they're not comparable. They developed, a whole new suite of benchmarks to kind of measure ongoing success for these new tests. So essentially, this year is really our baseline year for what we can expect going forward. All right, so again, looking at participation and performance. So overall participation rate for SAT last year was 92%. This is pretty in line with what's been happening. 2015, it was at 91%, 2016, 90%. So around 90% of our students take the SAT. And in terms of performance, so this is the results from the College Board. Our school, Milton High School, 61% of students from the class of 2017 met both benchmarks. So that means 61% of our students can be considered college and career ready by the definition given by the College Board. And when you break it down further, you see that there's a difference between the reading and writing benchmark versus the math benchmark. So the math benchmark is the one that's at 61%. Hence, we have 61% because they require that both benchmark be met. And so this discrepancy is, I think, really important for us to continue monitoring. And I'm happy to hear about the Math League courses or morning classes at the Tucker, because I think that will really help with this number in the long run. So this is participation and performance by race. So if you look at the chart on the left side, you see that for the most part, for all our subgroups, the percentage of students participating in SAT are pretty comparable with their share of the overall population. And that makes sense because over 90% of our students are taking these tests. Right. In terms of performance, here you see a discrepancy. The African American Black and the Hispanic Latino subgroup, their performance is lower than that of their other peers here. And then I give you some state percentages down at the bottom too, just so that we have some sort of comparison guideline. And it's the same pattern, even at the state level. African American student and Hispanic students are performing at a lower level than their peer groups. So I don't think that's surprising to us. So this is by income status, and you see here that the blue bar at 19%, so 19% of our students who took the SAT were low income, while we have 25% of our students are low income in our graduating senior class. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy there. But this could also be due to how people self-identify, how comfortable students feel self-identifying as low income so that they can get the waiver. And then looking on the right, you see the performance benchmark too. So low income students, the percentage meeting college and career benchmarks are at 28%, while those who are not low income are at 67%. So there's a discrepancy that we need to look at. And then in terms of gender, you see the percentages are pretty comparable to their representation in the population. And then for, in terms of performance, you see that boys are performing a little bit better than girls as well in terms of meeting the college and career ready benchmark. So this is very similar to the AP trend that we saw earlier.
That's so weird.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, that's it. So happy to take questions.
So, go ahead, you go first. Go ahead.
Well, I do have a question. Thank you for this great presentation, Vee. It's really wonderful and comprehensive. And bravo to Milton Schools for such great scores and involvement. I do have a question about the gender differences. It seems like a higher level of participation by girls in both SATs and APs, yet higher scoring by the males that are taking. And I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about what we can do about that, or what's going on there.
I will be straightforward with you. When I saw that, I was shocked by the data.
Because usually the opposite.
Performed a little bit. Exactly. I thought it would have been the opposite. I can't explain that at all, other than the fact that we continue to push both male and females to participate. Oh, sorry. I thought my voice was loud enough, but I guess not.
The people doesn't reach at home.
So again, I have no clue. I have no answer for that. That's something that we would definitely keep an eye on, though.
Thank you.
Dr. Craig.
First of all, thanks for this great presentation. Vee, I love your presentations. I always look forward to them. And this is a testament to the good work that certainly you all are doing at the high school, as well as the rest of Milton Public Schools to get them there. Vee, I had a question about on page 5, slide 5, where you start with 2009, 2010 to go up to last year, up through last year. Is 2009, 2010 the first year that there was open enrollment? Is that why that's how far back you went, or is there another reason for it?
I think this is as far back the data that I have access to.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that the AP program
the open enrollment started before that.
Okay.
Well before that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I also want to say that I am incredibly impressed by the huge leaps. I don't know what slide it is. Oh, it's slide number 7, where we're looking at qualifying rates for subgroups, and there is a 25% jump for the African American Black subgroup and a 31% jump. That's huge leaps for Hispanic Latino subgroups, and this data is just, it's wonderful to see. It's good that there's some really good news in the world, right here in our little corner of the world.
May I speak to Dr. Craig Heads? Please. Do you want to go first? Yeah.
I was just about to say, it goes back to what Superintendent Gormley alluded to regarding the calculus project. Even though currently right now we don't have a cohort that's in the senior. So if you recall, 4 years ago we would partner up with a gentleman named Adrian Mims. We were very hopeful to get the National Science Foundation grant. We didn't. Thankful to Superintendent Gormley, Glenn Pavlicek, Janet Sheehan. They continue to support the calculus project. So right now in the first cohort, we still have about 27 students in that cohort. 27 right now that are juniors. Out of the 27, 9 of them are currently taking an AP course. Okay. 18 of those students, 66%, are taking an honors level math course right now. The goal is to take a AP calculus course in their senior year and hopefully pass it. So it'll be interesting to see what the data would be coming up, because, and again, for the calculus project, it's not remedial work, but it's working with students of color, it's working with students considered low income by the state, and I hope that the work that they're doing, the efforts that they're putting in, will pay dividends when they get to that level. So that's some of the work that we're doing in terms of trying to increase the participation, but also increase the success of those who are participating.
Great, thanks.
And what I was going to say for the viewing audience, in several school districts, there are limited advanced placement options, and you have to get sign-offs from your teachers. Right. There are battles between parents and staff, and on the first day, I gave credit to former Superintendent Dr. Mary Grosser O'Neill, and it was a huge culture shock in the community and in the high school, but all children can excel and all children can learn, and I've spoken with the principals that I use my own nephew as an analogy. You don't wake up in the morning of 11th grade and say, I think I'll sign in to an AP class. This is something that elementary and middle school teachers and students and parents have to understand. And in the school district, we do work. Middle school teachers have to understand what I call the end game.
Right.
And so these results, open enrollment, all children encouraged, and I have to compliment the two individuals at the table who represent Milton High School. Every student is encouraged to maximize their potential. And people will see this data in the calculus project. We were teamed with Brookline, Newton, and 2 schools in New York. They applied twice. They're still applying, but they said to see this kind of data in communities that have a high percentage of children of color and low income is extraordinary. And huge is the open enrollment.
Yeah.
All children can learn.
Member Varela.
Yeah,
and excel.
To piggyback on that, well, the other thing too, the 2 questions, because you're speaking about the calculus project. So is that the project, Mr. Jett, that it starts like in the summer in middle school, like kids can come in and start then? Yes.
Yes, we currently have about 4 different cohorts, I believe. And the first one started in the abridged summer between 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah, right.
And so what they would do in the summer, they would come for 4 or 5 weeks. They would take, it's pre-teaching, it's not remedial work. They would take math courses to push them. Then when they get in the high school level, when they get in the academic year, we provide tutoring. So we started off, that was a little rough in the beginning. We started off going down to the piers or coming up here, then we started going down there. The pendulum switches each year. We try to go where we meet the most success. Ideally, we wanted them to come up here. It gives them the feel of the high school and start thinking forward. But yes, it starts there, and then we follow them throughout the year. So next year, as seniors, that will be the first cohort we ever started with back in the bridge summer between 7th and 8th grade.
So years ago, the key to success was algebra in the 8th grade. Now, to V's point, with all of this research, the key to success at university is a calculus course.
And then my other thing, just to piggyback on what Superintendent Gormley said, is that I echo, although sometimes I think here we sometimes have to pull kids back because they shouldn't be taking too many APs also too. I sometimes wonder, I tend to think that girls might take more APs than boys. I don't know if that makes a difference. And then sometimes taking on too many AP courses, as people have seen, can be a little too stressful. They shouldn't be taking 4 or 5 unless they're, I don't know, absolute rock stars, because they're intense. But I have heard back from friends whose kids go to other public schools, again, to piggyback on what Superintendent Gormley said, or private. And it goes back to the labeling that kids are not allowed. Like it's very tough for them to take APs, and if they're sort of stunted to say no, you can't do it, then they start to label themselves academically early on to say, oh, I'm just not an AP kid in anything. And so I think this does show that if kids have the opportunity and all of a sudden maybe they just spark a sophomore year and they're like, yeah, I'm going to take 2. But I think that that's huge when there are high schools that they label you and say, you need to do in order to take it. So I think that really shows a really great best practice that we have here. Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and I would encourage people to remember that and take that in consideration when looking at our AP scores with other districts. But one thing I do want to point out, you think about 636 exams taken last year. There were 137 seniors that took 303. So last year's juniors took 333.
That's crazy, yeah.
And those kids are now seniors.
Right.
We already had a spike in our AP Psych. We went from 31 students last year to 102 this year. So more and more kids are pushing themselves, exposing them to the rigorous coursework, and so we hope to see a continuous successful trend like this.
And may I just speak to that as well?
Yeah.
Our students are fortunate to be able to take the PSATs in their sophomore and junior year, and one of the things that the College Board provides as a result of the PSATs is AP potential. So every student gets a score report in December, January, and we'll list the AP courses that they most likely would find success in based on their PSAT scores. We take that information, we share it with the teachers as well. So when we go to the course selection process, kids are encouraged to take those courses that they've been, if we offer them, identify that they would find that success as well. So it's a great tool that the College Board offers, and we do take advantage of that. And I think that helps with the open enrollment as well.
And unlike other districts, the PSAT is administered actually during the school day. In fact, it's next week.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Next week, the
Get
11th.
excited.
So
Early release,
parents are
everyone.
watching, students are watching, be prepared.
And
But it's administered to all sophomores and juniors, and it's a very generous donation, and I thank the superintendent.
I was going to say, the reason that we give the PSAT in school was one of your former school committee members, Lori Stillman, when her children were at Milton High, she called me on a Monday morning and said, when I dropped my son off for the PSATs, why were all of the children white? And so I said, well, now we'll give it in school, and all of the children will take the PSAT. So Karen Cahill and I talk about this all the time, that it's driving down that, oh, that's expected here, the PSATs. Mm-hmm. You don't see this percentage of students taking the SATs that you, but this is the culture. So we all take the SAT. It's important enough to give it in school. Mm-hmm. It's important enough for me to take an SAT, but that was a school committee member, or we may have gone, I wish I could say that I had that insight. We could have gone along on Saturdays. Saturday was a cost. Mm-hmm. Saturday was a different culture than perhaps had been in their homes, and now it's given in the school day.
So I just want to say, of course, I love the high school, and I no longer have anyone here at all in the district, but we have benefited tremendously from the public schools of Milton. So just a few things. I think it's great that you offer AP classes that aren't just, so like the psych, the statistics, the art, the music theory, things that are outside just the standard courses, because that gives students a chance to take a college level course that is not necessarily calculus and be very successful. Well, I think calculus is a great measure of success overall. I don't think it's the only measure of future life success, and not everyone is going to use that. You know, it's a wonderful thing, but it's not necessarily the end all be all of everything. Although I think it's very helpful, and I don't know whatever to say that. I also wanted to talk about the benchmark that you mentioned, the 61% and the 84 versus 61. So I think that there's some data in the district that shows even in the district itself, for the younger kids, there's that discrepancy in our district between the English and the math, and that we've been working on that. I think it's probably, as you said, national as well, but it's interesting. And I'm wondering, what is the correlation then between how successful people are on AP exams, but then there's this 84, I don't understand. Is there any correlation then? Like if they're using this as the benchmark for success in college, what about the I don't understand that. What is that? Maybe you can't tell me. That's probably just me, you know. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I would have to say that because, the SAT, the college boards are just getting these results back now too. I'm sure they're sorting it out and trying to align these offerings and these different assessments, but it is a new test, so we'll have to wait and see how it pans out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. As we say in the Donahue household, this is refrigerator material right here. This is outstanding. The leaps and bounds that you've made in some of our subgroups in just a year. It's tremendous, and you're to be congratulated for it. And to piggyback on what you were saying about the math versus English divide. I think it also tracks with our longitudinal subgroup analysis as we look at it, and so I'm hopeful that once we figure it out, we sort of broadly figure it out. But it's an area of focus, and we'll keep chipping away at it. But this AP news is tremendous, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, very briefly, as I know the night is long, Ms. Member Varela, do you want to speak to Walk to School Day International?
Yeah. So So today was our kickoff. Today is the National Walk/Bike to School Day. And as you know, we are active participants in the program. We partner with Massachusetts Department of Transportation, aka MassDOT. And today what we do with the past couple of years is in order to just inspire kids to start off on the right foot at the beginning of the school year, we have our friend Wally the Green Monster from the Red Sox come and meet and greet Cunningham and Caldecott and Glover in the morning and Tucker students in the afternoon as they leave school, and students in the after-school program of Tucker as well. So Maura Downs here, who's our recording secretary, was also there today helping me out, escorting Wally to the different schools, and it's just great to see how many, and we've been blessed the past couple of years to have beautiful days like this, which even encourage more people to bike and walk and enjoy the beautiful crisp fall air and the excitement to see Wally, especially because it's playoff time and everything else. It's just a fun, joyous day. You know, it's just a great day to see kids so excited to gear up for school. So very successful all around.
I member Varela was the most excited. She went to all the schools. Sunday, I know school committee members were there at different times. Celebrate Milton had an equally beautiful day. I did. And I want to publicly, I gave you a little clue, at our last meeting, Celebrate Milton with their Community Builder Awards recognize Kara Kurtzman, Dr. Karen Spalding, and Jenny Mulqueen for their work with the vigil last year involving the Pierce School. Diane D'Souza was recognized for her work on the Milton Mattapan Neponset Greenway, and there was a third recognition, you might remember Milton Reflecting, in recognition of the work with Milton and the diverse community. It was a fabulous event, and next year, I'm not going to tell you who's won the community builders now, but next year it's 25 years.
Yeah.
So they're looking for a huge celebration next year. And as long as we're talking about years and celebrations, a program near and dear to my heart, 40 years ago, Annette Rayfeld and Linda Steichleather began the Saturday program at Milton Academy. Milton Academy offers public school students the opportunity to go on Saturday mornings for enriching opportunities. And these two individuals taught at the academy. They're still friends of the Milton Public School. They did leadership interns here. And this weekend, they're bringing back all of the people who have been involved in the Saturday program for a huge 40th anniversary celebration. My applause, personal and professional, to them. Very briefly, we have, through the opportunity of a clever parent who networked with a professor at Yale University, today our leadership team met with this professor and two of his associates, and as a result of our work last year at the Pierce School, we started to talk about transitions from 5th to 6th grade, 8 to 9, and transitions came up in our CDM meetings, Citizens for Durst Milton, in different groups that we were working with. So today, the team from Yale, we signed on. They're going to create surveys for parents and teachers and children at the elementary around implicit bias, and they believe, as we do, as I do, in the importance of the elementary school education. And as I walked them out, they go across the nation, and they said they had never found such a receptive team. Would you agree? Our principals welcoming this team. So I'll have more facts for you on this. Very briefly, grade 5 through 8 information night before we meet again, Thursday, October 5th. This weekend at the Pierce Gym, our parents and guardians and staff who support the music department, FAME, is having its annual mattress fundraiser. You can go online to the Milton website and get all the facts. A big event, Tuesday, is the Boosters Swing for Sports. So this has become an almost self-run event. The Boosters golf. I don't believe they're having tennis this year, and then there's a dinner afterward. If anyone's interested in visiting, we'll be there. And Wednesday, October 11th, financial night. In the coming weeks, we're having you were treated to the creator of the poster for our hurricane relief concert on the 17th. And then on the 18th, a reminder that Maria Trozzi will be addressing parents on building resiliency in their children. And then we'll be back. One other event to circle on your calendars before we meet again. The Milton Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition is hosting Underage Drinking in Milton, a listening session with Milton Police Chief John King. And also equal to John King will be Jennifer Rowe from the District Attorney's Office. I will tell you, unbelievable friend to the public schools in Massachusetts. And that night is the 18th, also at Milton, BID Milton. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. So the Milton Foundation for Education is part of our effort to incorporate our various representation on other boards. Tonight's MFE update night.
Right.
So
I'm happy to update everyone on the MFE. I would like to point out that Kat DeRoche mentioned that the Discovering Justice program was funded by those people who supported the Celebration for Education last year and attended or supported through donations. So thank you to all the people who supported that event, and it's now obviously being implemented in the schools, and that's a wonderful opportunity for the students in the district. So I'm just having a brief update on what's coming up, and that would be Monster Dash. As we all know, Monster Dash is Sunday, October 29th. We are going to hope for a beautiful day. You can register to run currently. If you are one of the first 500 registered runners, you will receive a t-shirt with your registration. The contest for the t-shirt drawing ended, and I believe that they were meeting today to pick the winner, and that will be announced through a fun surprise event, whoever the winner might be. Donations and sponsorships are coming in strong for Monster Dash this year, and I spoke to Rachel Shuey. She's one of the co-chairs of the event, and Blue Hills Bank is one of our sponsors at $2,500. At the $1,000 level would be Milton Chiropractic and Bay State, Elliott Physical Therapy, BID Milton, Planet Chrysler Jeep, Mark Susie Foundation, Braintree Heating and Plumbing at the $750 level, and then the Fruit Center Marketplace at $500, Keneally Meat at $500, and I think it's Crocodesis and Bluestein, which is it must be a law firm, at $250 level. So we're very grateful for all the sponsors for Monster Dash, and we encourage you to go to the website. The Milton Foundation for Education website is being revamped, so you might go there and not see a whole lot of updates, but there is an update about Monster Dash, and you can find the registration form and ways to support the foundation and Monster Dash as well. And then I know that annual appeal will probably come up towards the end of the year, and then teacher grants applications for the fall will be going out probably shortly as well.
And Mark, can I ask, for the viewing public, but it's a run walk. People can walk.
Oh yeah, people walk, people run, people come in costume. Yep. Dogs come in costume, and it's a really wonderful event. And there's a lot of students who participate. Girl Power was one of the groups that have participated in the last couple of years. Some of the students from the middle school, high school. And it's a wonderful event, and it's a great family day. There's also activities for younger students, younger children. There's like bouncy houses and games and face painting and
a lot of the track,
and the Mass Audubon sometimes comes from the Blue Hills.
Runners,
yep. So it's a great family day, and so there's more than just running if you're not really interested in the running part, and it does benefit science education throughout the Milton Public Schools, and is in memory, of course, of Sam Chikella. And it's a wonderful day. So I hope you'll mark it on your calendar and come.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Finance Subcommittee.
There you go.
I believe this will be the shortest report of the evening. Finance has not met since we last met last week. So we'll next meet next Wednesday, the 11th, and going forward, we will be changing our meeting times to Monday mornings until we get the FY19 budget all set and to the warrant committee. So that's that. Oh, but we do have to approve the vendor warrant tonight. And I have a sheet of paper that has that figure on it. Thank you. And I move to approve vendor warrant number 14, dated October 5th, 2017, but it is signed and reviewed, in the amount of $762,598.58.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
5-0.
Okay.
No Rosemary out of the room.
Okay. Great, thank you. That's the end. That ends my report.
Wonderful. All right. Health and wellness.
Well, we had a very great meeting last Friday morning.
It was a good meeting.
There was a lot discussed, so I will not discuss the entire, I have many notes of pages here. It was a really great meeting, actually. We talked a lot about the speaker series that where Sarah Ward spoke in September, and the overwhelming success of that event, and how we're looking forward to Maria Trozzi coming up this month in October. And we, Lori Stillman pointed out that two things were very helpful in that, in its success, in that it was very timely and relevant to the time of year, and also it was very well promoted. There was a lot of press surrounding the event, and the it was wonderful. They had support in that from BID Milton. Times donated some of the ads for Sarah Ward, so it all went really well, and we're looking forward to Maria Trozzi's talk in October. We had a little update on the Excel grant that we received. We're one of the 9 districts that were awarded the grant statewide. 36 districts applied, and we were awarded the grant. It's going to provide a lot of professional development support for the district in terms of social emotional learning. And there's a social emotional learning team, district team, that includes James Jett, Karen Cahill, Karen Spalding, Holly Concannon, the adjustment counselors, and Noel, how do you say his last name, Vigu? Vigu. That's part of the team that's going to be working with that grant. Laura Stillman shared a lot of wonderful updates that she has received with regard to the social emotional learning possibilities throughout the state. She talked a lot about this wonderful district she learned about through South Shore Hospital called Breathe Out to Calm In, which is a program that can come to high schoolers and teach them different ways to relax and reduce stress before finals. We were wondering how we could possibly squeeze anything else into the high school agenda, and Mr. Jett was sitting there and he was just sort of like, who knows? Holly Concannon spoke a lot about the different ways that they're supporting social and emotional growth at the high school, at the elementary school, through brain breaks and through yoga. What did you call it? Mind Yeti, which is an app that students can use to do different relaxation techniques. I looked it up.
Yeah, and she also said that every elementary school teacher was trained on doing it, and that everyone is encouraged, all of the teachers, to use it in the classroom periodically, like for the brain breaks and that.
And they take exercise breaks. They'll take a couple of minute breaks, and they'll do things to push-ups against the wall, or they'll do other things. And Superintendent Gormley talked about the importance of supporting the wellness of the staff as well, and moving that agenda forward. How can as a district we continue to support the staff as well? Dr. Spalding gave us an update on the self-assessments and action plans that are ongoing throughout the district, and they're working on a district-wide plan. I couldn't remember, she's applying for a grant, right, that will support the self-assessment and action plans, and I believe the deadline is this month. And they're hopeful to get support for these things. The self-assessment sort of just looked at the district, the individual schools, and then district-wide, what are some of the needs of the district, and they're putting that all together. Member Varela talked about how we can talk more on health and wellness, about physical fitness and nutrition, and expand our conversations. We've been talking a lot about social and emotional learning. I want to encourage everyone. We had a wonderful update from Caroline Kinsella about the Milton Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition. And again, please attend the date, which is the 18th, right? Yes. Which is at 7 p.m. Is it still going to be at BID Milton? And it's really to promote also a campaign going on about underage drinking. And that's going to be displayed on MBTA buses throughout the state. And they're going to talk a lot about the social host law.
Can I ask just, that's not the same night, though, that Marie Trozzi is speaking?
No.
So did I make a mistake?
Because I thought we had to move our Wednesday meeting so we could go to that.
No, we moved it for the substance abuse thing.
That's what I mean.
Right.
Okay.
It's that Wednesday.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's the 18th.
That's the 18th, right?
Date is.
Yes.
And when's Marie Trozzi coming?
That's not till.
Oh, it's not next week, it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
I
right,
apologize.
exactly.
Apologies
No,
for
that's
that.
okay.
Yeah, that's stressed.
There's a 5K walk run on October 21st, 2017. The Mike's 5K Crush to crush substance abuse, and all the funds will support the Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition work. On October 25th, the Milton Town Hall will be having an employee health and wellness clinic open to all town employees. You're welcome to come. And also, October 28th is Drug Take Back Day. You can bring all of your prescription drugs and safely dispose of them. And then we ended the presentation as Holly Concanon was rushing out of the room to go to the food play presentation, which was like a theater-type interactive presentation on nutrition at the elementary level. And so it was a great meeting, and I thank everyone who was there and Member Varela for that.
And can I just add on one thing that I think that, I mean, I've been on the health and wellness a couple of years now, but I think that one of the things that we kind of hit upon, and even though I did say that I would like, Noel to maybe just give an update on what they are doing, for physical fitness, and Jackie Morgan to just report on nutrition, but the big thing that, that with the feedback that we've been getting about when you talk about, I sound like Member Bagley Jones, but the whole child or the whole student, is that, just having coming off the AP exam presentation, that it's great that we have such high expectations for our students, and our students learn to kind of push themselves and to be driven and to achieve, but it's noted that we also need to teach them how to take care of themselves socially and emotionally, and that they don't always have to be perfect, that it's not always about the SAT scores and how many AP exams you're taking and whether you got a 4 or a 5 on them, and it's okay that you need to take a step back and socially and emotionally, mentally take care of yourself. And so many students, James Jett spoke about students on the site council who made note of that, about that especially when you're a junior and a senior at the high school, you have one of the most intense schedules that you probably would ever have in your life, because kids start at 7 in the morning at a before school class, club, working out down at the wellness center, training, go through the entire day without a break, and then do a sport or an after school activity, till whatever, 6, 7, and then go home for 3 hours of homework, and eat at 11 and start all over again, 5 days a week. And that if they're taking 3 or 4 APs, in college you might be taking a very intense, difficult academic schedule, but you're going to have 2 classes, then 3 hours of a break, and then maybe a class, and that they don't know how to have the coping mechanisms of how to take a break, to reduce the stress. They don't even know, as they've said before, that they really could go down to the adjustment council or just about stress. So I think it's a lifelong skill that kids are not being taught about mental health and social and emotional, positivity in their academic rigor day, because it's all about achieving. And so it's really nice to see at the elementary level the brain breaks and the reinforcement of you need to take care of yourself, because I think they get up here and that is just put by the wayside, and they're just taught. It's not just the schools, it's parents, it's everyone needs to, they need to learn how to step back and not do everything and take care of themselves, so that they don't get to a place where, it's too difficult to learn that life skill. So I thought that was a really good outcome with all the efforts that are happening from all different angles. The Milton substance abuse, that's not a way to outlet. How about a brain break? How about other places? So I just felt that was a big message and vibe that came from it. So I wanted to share that. So that was good.
Thank you. All right, strategic planning subcommittee report.
Yes, the strategic planning subcommittee met recently, and we are working on the development of a new vision statement for the Milton Public Schools. This goes back to work that had been done by the strategic planning subcommittee starting last year. group that looked at core beliefs and did quite a bit of groundwork on that in that area last year. And then beginning this year, the group looked at elements that might be included in the vision statement, in the revised vision statement, and we have developed a first draft that has been circulated with you all, and then we will be circulating it to all Milton Public Schools staff shortly. And after we get that feedback back, we will then revise the statement accordingly and bring it back to the school committee for discussion. And it's my understanding that'll be 2 meetings from now that we'll bring it back, probably beginning of November.
Yeah. Your next scheduled report is 2 meetings from now.
So we're excited about moving forward and having a new vision statement that ties in with some of the wonderful presentations that we just heard today about excellence in Milton Public Schools and fostering learning in all different areas and supporting families and the like. I think you'll be very pleased.
Thank you. Policy.
Okay, policy. All right, so if you recall, we have 3 second readings this evening of our policies that we reviewed just last week. So we'll start with BEDA, which is the notification of school committee meetings. If you recall, this policy was one that had been eliminated in 2013, and it was suggested for review by the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and we decided to add it back in because we thought that it was relevant and it should be in the manual. And basically, it's just how you notify about school committee meetings and the minimum amount of time you need to notify people, the community as well as school committee members, which is 48 hours advance notice. So, did everyone read it over and does anyone have any questions about this policy? It's pretty straightforward, I think. All right, so do I have a motion to accept this policy?
Yeah, so moved.
All right.
Seconded.
Questions, comments? All in favor? All right.
Unanimous.
Excellent. Policy is BEDB-E, agenda format and content. Sorry, I did that. And remember what we did here was the only thing that we changed from our current policy was that we added the note section at the suggestion of the MASC. And again, it's just about always having the customary order of business on the agenda, old and new business, basically. So, any questions? Okay, I have a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, that's on here.
Unanimous.
Okay. And then you call our last policy here, which is BEDH, public participation at school committee meetings, was the original name of it, and now you will see on our copy here, it's public comment at school committee meetings. That was the change. And we just changed around a little bit of the wording and clarified for those who wish to comment at the meeting about how long citizen speak is, when it occurs, and that on our agenda it's in the beginning and at the end. This is the policy that will sit at the table over there for any of the community members who wish to come and speak at our school committee meetings. And that was basically the only changes that we made. And just the reminder to those who come to the meeting that when they make comments, we don't go back and forth with them. We can address that at the following meeting, response to citizen speak, which is always also on our agenda. Are there any questions about this policy? Do I have a motion
I'll make a motion to approve policy BEDH.
Second.
All right, everyone in favor? All right.
Unanimous.
Thank you. All right. We'll have some more policies at our next, when we're on the agenda next. And we'll almost get through all those ones suggested by
Thank you. And you're
Yes.
showing up as frequently as finance on the
So much fun with all these letters.
Old business, I don't believe we have any to address. Citizen speak topic response, none. Next meeting agenda items. We should all have the schedule of the subcommittees
Yep.
reporting out.
Gave us that last time.
Last week.
Yep.
Any additions to that? I'm happy to have them, but otherwise we'll use that as a template for the next meeting. So then our next meeting will be several weeks away.
25th,
Yeah, the
right?
25th.
Okay.
So.
And we'll
And then
have
you'll
town
decide
meeting
if you
before
want to
then.
call a meeting on the 24th before the special town meeting.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
the
Sometimes you
23rd
call
or
a meeting a
24th?
half hour
The
before
24th.
that.
So we
I mean, the 25th.
We'll be in session for town meeting in case we need to deliberate
Okay.
for some
Okay.
reason on
All right.
the floor of town meeting. But I will update you that Sunday if we need to meet beforehand to discuss
Okay.
anything
Okay.
that may come up. at that time.
What is the special phone meeting? What's the agenda? What's the
It has
topic?
16 items or something.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you'll vote your resolutions so that Member Varela
Correct.
knows how to vote. Glover and PS Site Council, remind everybody about the time.
Mhm.
And then we're bringing forward, we worked with Elaine, Dr. Craighead, about the end-of-the-year report for DESI to vote that. We probably could bring it to Finance, but you had asked, and we will put it on this agenda. It wasn't ready for tonight, but we're making the deadline by the 25th.
So you should all have gotten in the mail the packet for the MASC meeting, and it has, I think there are 7 resolutions this year. So read them over. If you have any objections to us as a body supporting any of them, or preference that we abstain from one or more, we can discuss it at the next meeting.
Okay.
That's always a lively discussion.
Yes.
Great. This is great.
All right, nobody's here for the evening or the last citizens speak. So I'll move that we go into executive session for the purpose of negotiation strategy with non-union personnel, not to return to open session. This is a roll call vote. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Member White?
Yes.
Member Rosemary?
Yes.
Dr. Craighead?
Yes.
Member Everhart?
Yes.
Member Varela?
Yes.
Dr. Donahue, yes. Thank you. So we are
Thank
adjourned
you. What a great
to the
meeting.
executive session. Thank you.
Such good news.